Welcome to Healing Highs with Lara, where we talk about the highlights and serendipitous moments of our healing journey. I'm Lara, and I'm happy to introduce my guest today. Joining us is an actress, writer, and a Theta Healing practitioner. Please welcome Grace Gabel.
Hi.
Thank you for being here today. My first question, just like straight out of the gate, is how did you get started on your healing path?
So that's a long-winded story, sort of, but I knew that I was a healer. Like, I could just feel the energy of I actually thought I was a shaman, but I don't really think white people should say they're shamans. So I was just trying to figure out like what kind of healer I was, but I could tell it was like something very like deep and spiritual for me. And I was kind of dating this guy who had a bunch of health problems, and that got me into crystals because I felt very like powerless in this situation and I wanted to do anything to help. So I ended up commissioning this crystal necklace for him, and the necklace went to the wrong person. It was like we were both living in Santa Monica, and it was the jeweler accidentally switched us.
Oh my gosh.
And so I went to her house, and we both were like, oh, we were supposed to meet. So she invited me in, and she was asking me who the necklace was for, and I was telling her, and I mentioned where I was looking for my healing modality, but I wasn't really sure what it was. I was looking into pranic healing, but it wasn't really quite resonating. And so then she asked me if I ever knew of Theta Healing, and I didn't, and she started to tell me about it, and it's all about your, like, thinking, and I'm such a thinking person. Like, Reiki is great, but it's very physical, and I'm not in tune with my body, but I'm very in tune with my head. So and my sister's always told me I should be a life coach, but I'm a struggling actor, so I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to trust my life coaching. Anyways, so she gave me someone's number for Theta Healing, and she said that she was this like medical grade Theta healer and that she could help my friend, and she never got back to me. I reached out to her a few times and just never heard anything, and almost a year goes by, and it's in the pandemic, and I had a week off of my serving job, a weekend free, because I was supposed to go to Austin City Limits with my family, and that wasn't happening in October of 2020. So I reached back out to her and asked her if she had a different Theta healer to recommend to me, and she didn't. So then she asked a friend, and she gave me your number, and you just so happened to be teaching basic the exact weekend that I wanted to learn Theta Healing. And that started our journey of us working together.
Amazing. Now I'm curious who the person was that she reached out to that gave you.
Tasia?
Yeah. Okay.
Is that her name? We ended up taking a class together.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But we'd never met, and then we ended up taking after like my like 5th or 6th class with you. She was in it too, yes. And I don't think she knows who I am because we never actually connected.
And it was strange because I never knew any of that, and there was a time where you said, "I wish there was someone near me physically that I could practice with or bounce healing ideas off of," and I thought of this person. And thought, I don't know where you are and I don't know where she is, but I feel like you might be near each other.
I'm pretty sure we posted the same sunset once, and you were like, I think you guys are really close to each other.
That's what it was.
And we were.
And then I was like, I'll connect you. And then you were like, that's who referred me to you. And I knew of it, but I didn't know it was her. So I feel like that has come around a couple times where it's shown like this strong connection of like you being on your right path.
Yeah, I feel just... it's so serendipitous how pretty much everything with Theta Healing happened. Because remember with Advanced, the 2nd class, the other 2 women that we'd done basic with were taking it together, and I couldn't get the time off of work, but then I just so happened to get COVID, so I had to stay home, and then I was able to take the class.
Yeah, and then you all came on the screen, and I was like, wait till you see each other because you were all in the class together before, and you hadn't said anything, and then you were all like, hey, it's us again.
And then our 3rd class, we were all just the 3 of us again.
Yeah. So then from there, I mean, to explain to people, when you take basic Theta Healing, you become certified to be a Theta Healing practitioner. So now you're a healer if you weren't already certified before. You're a healer always, but wait, what made you want to go from just like, I'm looking at my healing path and healing myself to I do want to be a healer?
think I just always had the call. And as I've dug deeper, I feel like my life's purpose is to heal people, and acting and theta healing are both a way for me to heal people. I think like there's both like the physical healing aspect of theta healing, and then the way that acting makes people feel seen and represented and like less alone, and then just like with comedy making people laugh. And so I feel like it's this dual purpose that all goes back to healing.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my throat's now.
I passed it to you.
We were talking about your throat and you're fine, and I'm not. When I know about, you were in the class, basic theta healing class that we talked about, but had you ever had a healing session done for you before that class? Like, had you gone to a pranic healing or Reiki healing, or was that your first?
I'm thinking, but no, I don't think I did.
It's common. A lot of people come into it never even trying theta healing, just knowing like they're supposed to learn about it and heal in the class as their first.
I mean, the fact that I specifically was like, I want to do it this weekend, the person that was recommended to me, you, was doing the exact class I needed that weekend, just was this like perfect alignment.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my friend would like do pranic on me like without telling me. She would just like send me healing, which is kind of funny now that I think about it, because in theta it's always like you have to get people's permissions.
Right, yeah.
But of course, like if your energy can also accept it. So if I was in alignment with it, even if I didn't know it was happening, my energy would still accept the healing. But no, I guess you probably did my first one in class.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, yeah, if that wasn't like, then what was your first experience? When you felt like, okay, now I'm in this class, I'm learning to heal myself and heal other people, and you're now like kind of committed now on your healing journey, what did you notice was shifting in your life after that?
I think honestly acting started to shift first. I was trying to like run back the dates, and so the first two classes were in October of 2020, and I'd been in LA for a number of years and was not getting that much traction. I was having a hard time getting an agent, and that's pretty typical. I mean, it's a big pond. And in January, I was able to get a manager, and that's pilot season. And so while things have shifted and pilot season isn't as like strict or really a real season as much anymore, it was still kind of a big deal that someone was willing to bring me on, because there's like times that they say are like really bad and like don't even bother reaching out to people because they're just going to ignore your email. And I found my manager, and then she ended up becoming a literary agent at a different company, but she brought me with her. And because I wrote and produced a couple shorts, she brought me on like under the literary track, and then connected me with the theatrical and commercial departments, and so they're still my agents.
Wow, that's so cool. I didn't know that. I know you've told me some things that have changed, but I didn't know that part of it. And we talked about theta healing, and I know you've since then done so many things, but what makes theta healing the one that you kind of go back to and you love to do for other people and for yourself?
I think it goes back to just like it's in alignment with the type of person I am. So because I'm such a thinker and I'm always kind of like analyzing things, theta is really great for that. Have you talked about on the podcast like what theta is and like how it works?
Yeah, the first one I talk a lot about theta healing. Yeah.
Okay, so just as a quick like recap for people if necessary.
Yeah.
Theta healing allows you to connect to your subconscious, and there you can discover the different beliefs that you're carrying and is attracting your life. And it's really interesting because both like when I'm existing in my life, I feel like I can kind of track the belief that's sort of like revolving around a problem. And then especially when someone else is talking, I can kind of see like, oh, I feel like we're probably headed towards this. And of course in the session we'll be digging, and I want to make sure I'm both correct, and like we're doing the full process of letting them get to their bottom belief. But I love also that while I believe in the energy work and think theta healing in its entirety is super powerful, I think for some other people, if they don't believe in the energy healing work, if you are basically in a therapy session of saying like, oh, what's happening with the throat chakra? What's important that I'm saying? If they are able to look at, oh, this situation was happening in my life and I was carrying this belief and I learned these lessons from this belief and now I can release that. I think by talking something through, you were able to gain so much from that.
Yeah.
Even if you're not ready to accept the energy healing part of it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a helpful modality in that way, because sometimes just the conscious, like, looking at it, and Vienna, who created Theta Healing, she talks about that. Like, sometimes just the conscious, like, recognition of, like, oh, I'm doing that, it'll shift it enough, you know? And then on top of it, all the other things that we're doing to help. And she does also say it's the practitioner that makes, if you believe as the practitioner, that's what is the most important, right? The client maybe isn't 100% like, I don't know if I like believe this, and that's fine. It's us, because we're witnessing the changes that make the difference. So I agree, it is helpful for people in that way, because then you can be the one to help kind of like guide the ship in a lot of ways, and help them get to that end result. And then they're like sold, like, oh wow, yeah, like so many changes happened, I feel so different, let me do it again.
Yeah, I think you said it was 8%, right?
That they have to believe.
They have to believe.
I think it's in the first book that she says it's like, as long as we believe as the practitioner, like 92%, they only need to believe like 8% or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I can convince someone of 8%.
No earlier you were talking about acting, and you are an artist. So how else has healing, just in general, your because yes, we're talking about theta healing, but you've done other things since then, and you've had other healing experiences. How has it affected your acting, your writing, your creativity in general?
I mean, with acting, I feel like I can access a deeper well of emotion. When I was younger, I used to, it's called like mining your own pain. And so I would look at my own life experience and like put that onto the page and really be like, oh, so-and-so made me feel this way and the character's feeling like this. So I'm going to imagine that I'm talking to this person. And that wasn't really like the healthiest way to act, because it was useful to like get that emotion out, but it would also make me like more hung up on guys, because I was like kind of needing the connection to them in order to like use it with acting.
Wow.
And now I have more like a universal well to pull from. So like if my character is sad, I am almost like channeling the energy of that character, and it feels like I'm taking that from the universe and it's like coming down into me, and I can feel this like universal sadness that the character has, and then I can kind of like send it back. So I don't necessarily feel super sad after I've done it. Like it's a little bit easier to like shed the skin of this character, as opposed to when I was basically just like trying to fully always be myself. It'd be harder to come in and out of things.
Yeah, you're not hanging on to it then, I guess.
Yeah, and then I also think it's interesting how, like with past lives, I'll really connect to something, and sometimes, yeah, like the emotion is just like really like coming off the page for me.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, like a week or two later, I'll have a session either with you or like doing it on myself, and I'll have a past life that's like a really similar situation. Yeah. So I guess in some ways I am still mining my own pain, but from every past life I've ever experienced. But it's interesting how things will be connected. So nothing is ever happening in a vacuum.
Totally.
And it's really interesting to me how we've talked about, privately, how, I have all these different lives now to like understand a character better. And it's not just my own existence, but now I can go kind of explore through my different past lives that I've now been to a number of them from sessions.
Yeah, and that's the great thing, not just for creativity, but our life, which ultimately is creativity, is to say like we have lived all these existences, future ones, parallel ones, and how can we access all of them to help us in the now. And in the now, you are an artist, you are a writer, you are an actress. So yeah, how can you go and bring something from that past life, parallel life, whatever it is, to say like, come help me with this, and kind of like you were saying, maybe one happens before the other, but in the end it kind of all works together because it's all happening at the same time. Of course that makes sense, that your intention whether one's happening before the other, is ultimately to create this piece or this character. And so your subconscious is like, okay, well, let me go and find that life that's going to help her, and I'm going to show her this now, because in 2 weeks she's going to have, you know, this project to do, or vice versa. And so you're able to, really use, I find it fascinating that, you know, like, here you are going to play a role or write a piece, and you're tapping into all parts of you, literally.
From all timelines, spaces, dimensions.
Yes, dimensions for sure. Since I've known you, which I guess now is like 3.5 years.
I know.
Yeah. You always wanted, as you were saying earlier, to help people with your acting, with healing. How do you see combining those gifts?
That's interesting that you asked that, because it's something I think about a lot, and I oscillate on what I think the answer is, and I think it's okay if it is like ever changing and growing. I used to think that maybe I needed to be sort of like this, I'm not sure the language, maybe spiritual guidance for people, and like using acting to have this bigger platform. But I don't necessarily think it has to be that wild, if you will. There are a lot of positive and negative energies in Hollywood, and sometimes I think the negative energy can be a little more prevalent. And I think there's something really special about simply being someone that is this like high vibration on set, who makes people feel better and makes people enjoy coming to work. And that's something that I can be today. I don't have to be anything different than myself, and just being my authentic self. And I think a lot of people kind of shy away from who they really are because they want to fit in, or it's not really accepted. And I think my like real quote unquote mission is probably a lot simpler than I think it is. And I've been trying to kind of like shed all the different layers of like, you know, coming from like I'm a shaman to being like, oh, maybe I'm just a healer or person, and I'm able to help guide other just straight up humans by being more authentically who I am.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that is inspiring for anyone, that no matter your job, if you go into your job as that way, if you're working at a dry cleaners or a hospital, you know, if you go in being that your most authentic self, coming from a kind and loving place as best you can, that you are making huge changes and doing that. And you can, in like the behavioral way, right, like affect people, but like you're saying, that high energy and that frequency also is doing things for those that aren't able to sense or see energy in the way that we can. You know, they don't know like why when you come on all of a sudden everybody's different, or why if you're, you know, in a episode of something that they're watching, suddenly they feel like really good. And it is your frequency, that because you're coming from your heart and because you're coming from this loving place, that you are creating change, whether you're speaking about it, acting a certain way, or just the fact that you are standing in that room, you know?
Yeah, and I was reading up on my human design, and it was talking so much about how I'm not supposed to try and change people, but allow myself to be kind of like a role model for people, in order to just let them see how I'm walking in my shoes and be like, oh, someone can be like that. Oh, maybe I can be like that too. And it was a number of my gifts were kind of talking about basically just the more you show up as your authentic self, the more other people think they're safe and okay, like allowed to be their authentic self.
100%. I know about human design, but I'm not in any way a specialist. Is there like something where I say like, what are your things?
You're like, how do I ask you about this?
Everyone's always like, do you know your human designs? And then I hear them all like shouting letters and things. So I'm like, is that a thing?
I think that's Myers-Briggs, the letters. I'm an ENTP.
Okay.
But maybe an ENFP now. I don't know. I think I'm more in touch with my feelings than I used to be. No, but human design, it could have letters. I'm not sure. But I'm a manifester.
Okay.
10% of the people are manifestors. We're ideas people.
Okay.
And my favorite thing that I read about that was the book I was reading was explaining that manifestors are kind of like train conductors. And so you are like going somewhere and you are leading people going to that destination, but you're not changing where you're going because someone wants to go to a different place. You're not waiting for them. Like there's a time and a place and people can get on your train, and you are guiding people to their destination if where you're going is in alignment with them.
Okay.
And I found that super interesting. So, and I also really liked that it was talking about that my energy isn't really great for a 9 to 5, and I'm currently trying to live that, and it has been kind of challenging.
Wow.
And he was saying that there are times when I will have 200% energy when I have an idea and I'm excited, and the universe will provide me with the energy to get me through an idea. But it's equally important that I have time to relax, which, as you know, I'm really good at relaxing. And there will be times where I'm only at 20% or 50%, and that's okay. Like, each time is serving the other.
Right.
And I think that's it. Like, there's a lot more on human
that's
design,
what it sounds
but
like. Yeah, when I
that's
hear
only
about
like
it.
one section. And it was really interesting, like diving into my gifts and to see like how they all were working together, and you know, as an ideas person, how I can pull all those together to create a company or a job, a day job that is like most in alignment with what I'm naturally good at.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know so many people have found such help in knowing their human design, I don't know, characteristics, if that's what you would call it. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are it's really helping them, so that's cool.
Yeah, because it kind of gives you like a roadmap, same way astrology does, of it's like all the different puzzle pieces like fitting together, and you just like get to look at the map as opposed to like trying to figure out how it fits together.
Right.
And one of the favorite things that I read was that you think that oftentimes people think that your gifts aren't special because they come easily to you. So you think because this is easy for me, it's easy for everyone. But oftentimes, or really nothing. Like everyone has their different skill sets. And so to really put value into the things that you're good at and realize that like one of my special skills is making friends. And I've always been like, how do I make a job where I'm making friends? Because I'm really good at that. And I've always thought like, okay, well, that's not a job. And I haven't quite figured out how to make that a job. But I think that, you know, means I'm good at connecting people and connecting with people and finding a way to bring more people together and create community is really important for me. And so recognizing that that's something special I have, as opposed to just being like, oh, you know, who doesn't make friends?
Right. No, that's, I love that you said that. I think that's helpful for a lot of people. Like, just because it comes easy to you because you're good at it doesn't mean it's not special. And how can you use that to help you and highlight that about yourself and realize it is unique to you? Kind of switching gears, I wanted to ask you, in terms of your healing journey, you know, over the last few years, have you had any like really wild moments where you're like, I can't believe I went through that? Or
yeah, I have a few things that come to mind. The first thing that's coming to mind is that the first past life I went to was with you, and it turned out I was married to my dad, and he murdered me. In that life.
Forgot about that.
And my family was very traumatized when I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, let me tell you. And they were all so grossed out. They were like, that's how you were married to our dad. I'm like, it's not this life. And I always kind of feel like, you know, you took everything away in that life, and then this life, you know, you gave me the world to like make up for it. And so that one always kind of makes me laugh. And I don't know, I feel like all my different past lives, like pretty much every guy I meet now or have like a connection with, I have past lives with them.
Right, yeah.
And I think you remember that there was a time I was like trying to date a doctor, and there were like, let's say, real life issues with this person as well, that I thought they weren't maybe a match. But like the ultimate thing that pushed me away from them was that they were like ruined my life in multiple past lives. And I was like, I can't be with this person. They like destroyed both me and my sister in 2 different lives at least.
It's enough.
But you can't tell a doctor that.
Right, okay. Same as what you were saying with your family, like in the beginning, same when I would have these experiences, I would like tell my family, oh, this is so crazy and this happened and you guys were there, and they'd just be like, I would never do that.
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't do that.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You're getting and now it's like I have to choose how I share things, because they don't mean to, but you know, when you share it, people take it within how they are now, you know, in this life, and we're not talking about that. So yeah, you have to kind of like pick and choose how you share it.
I feel like now too, because a lot of the times it's connected to a belief, or I'm not doing like past life crystal grid so much as like we're finding the first time I held the belief, and then it goes to a past life. And so when I'm trying to tell them the story, I think it can sometimes be a little hurtful, because it's like, oh, well, you know, I feel like I can't let myself be more successful than you, and I went to this past life, and you were really sick, so I made myself really sick too, so that, you know, you wouldn't feel jealous that I got to have like a more fulfilled and like full life than you. And I don't really think telling that story, I haven't told her that story. I'll keep it private. Because not everything I think people are really willing to hear. But for us, it's not personal or like sensitive.
We're looking at it objectively, like you're looking
it's
at
like
a
a
map.
textbook.
Oh, there it is. We found it. This is what happened. Okay, let's heal it. Let's move on. But yeah, for them, it's like, oh my God, what happened, and what did I do?
It feels so emotional, but for us, it's like we're surgeons. It's like, oh, I found the thing, and I just need to cut that out real quick. And
there's no like worry about it. We're just like, oh, there it is. Okay, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
Kind of along the same lines, is there anything that you've experienced that felt like so validating when you were like working on something, and then something came in that was like supporting you, where you felt like, wow, the universe, creator, source is really like validating what I'm working on right now, or healing, or
two different things kind of come to mind. One being, my family isn't great at communicating, and so I always used to just like work everything out myself, and I would never tell anyone what I was thinking or feeling, or ask them what they were thinking or feeling. I would analyze it within my own head, figure it out, and put a little neat bow on it, and be like, okay, that's solved, and we're good. And of course, we were never that good, because I didn't talk to them about anything. But you know, when you go home, there's that like psychology idea that you just revert to your teenage self. And I can definitely tell in my relationships with like my friendships in LA as well, but especially when I go back to see my family, like how much Theta Healing has really changed me. As I'm able to be like less reactive, I can talk about my feelings more. It's the hardest with my family, because we all have the same problem, and we're all reverting back to our like younger versions of ourselves. But it can be done. And my mom is like very more like scientific. She is just like not a believer in any of like the hippie woo woo, but she is like such a firm believer for me that Theta Healing is like real and works, because she's seen like so much how I've changed. Nice. I don't think like she's quite super open to it. Like I could probably push her into probably like, if I said I really wanted to share this with her, she would maybe let me, but it is so personal that we haven't yet done that, just because I want her to be ready. And then the second thing, neither of these are like super like what I was working on, but the way my dog came into my life is that I was just like so longing for a dog, but I wouldn't have gotten one, because my dream is to be on set 16 hours a day. Well, 12-hour days would be cool, but it'd probably be long days. And I'm single, and so it's just like difficult to like give an animal like that amount of like love and attention I think they need. But my roommate was gonna get a dog, so I was like, okay, perfect, like she'll bring one into the house. For like 2 months I was just like, oh my gosh, I want a dog, like I really just want this companionship. And then all of a sudden on Valentine's Day, my roommate's friend, and now my friend, finds this dog on the side of the road, and she sends us a photo, and he looks like he's a combination of a pit bull, which was what my roommate wanted, and an Australian cattle dog, which is the breed I always wanted. And my roommate texts me and says, I think I found our dog. So we brought him home. Well, we tried to find his owners, of course, and he didn't have a chip, and he didn't have a collar, and so we posted signs and whatnot. But there just seemed to be this like perfect alignment of, he comes in, and he actually is just an Australian cattle dog. And me and my roommate ended up sharing him and being co-moms of him. But I have a theory that he's actually from my higher timeline, and he came in, he was like, she's kind of struggling. I think she needs some help now. She's not doing what she's supposed to do, and she needs a little help. So I think he came in to support me sooner. And I was going to bring this up earlier, but when we were talking about like timelines and stuff, he, right now I've been trying to like, you know, manifest. It was 111, the Capricorn new moon and portal, and so I was writing out my dream life and what I want it to look like, and of course Bo is in my life, and I was able to sort of connect like, well, I already have Bo in my life now, so I know that I can have the things in this dream life because part of them are already here. And so like, how do I like pull more of that energy of what I want to create into who I am and like what I'm doing right now?
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. I love that because we always talk about animals being here to help us with something, and I love that you're like utilizing what you know he wants to help you with, you know.
I also think he's just like always teaching me unconditional love.
Yeah, 100%.
Bo is the best, but like pretty wild and crazy.
Yeah.
And he's teaching me so much, but one of them for sure is I think he's just opened up my heart, and I think it's really cute how, you know, everyone feels that way about their animal, and how animals are just like creating so much more love on this planet and like raising the vibration.
Yeah, I like when you post pictures and you talk about how you guys look alike and like a mother and son.
I like to say he's a healer for a healer.
Yeah,
absolutely. Since Australian cattle dogs are called healers.
Yeah, on top of it, and animals, especially dogs, are healers for sure. Have you had a moment in your healing experiences that like you look back on it and was really funny or made you laugh, or you're like, I can't believe
I'm just waiting for you to ask.
Oh, okay.
Well, you're involved in this story.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm sure you're excited to hear.
Worried.
You were telling me that the guidance that was coming down from the universe was that I needed to have higher vibed men that I was spending my time with.
Okay, I'm interested in where this goes.
And you're like, you need to stop dating fuckboys. And can I say that?
I don't know why not. That's a thing.
Can I curse? And that I was, you know, choosing the wrong men, but I was like, well, they're really like hot and they're good in bed. Like, what was that not? Is that not enough? But as I heal more, I'm like, oh, I'm sharing my energy with these people. I should probably like share my energy with like higher vibrational people. But you were trying to just like make sure I didn't feel like you were looking down on me for like giving this piece of advice. And like, I know you, so I know you have the best of intentions with anything that you say. However, you're like, okay, well, you know, the guidance is also coming down that, you know, just so to make you know that it's okay if you do have sex with a fuckboy, is that you can orgasm is a really powerful time to manifest, and so you can do sex magic when you are having sex with low vibrational people.
I mean, use it if you're
and
gonna be there.
And you can use that orgasm to create the life you want to have.
Amazing.
And you also made sure to mention that you can do it by yourself too.
Oh, I'm so glad I was so thorough in this conversation. Yes. Oh, amazing. Yeah, that is a funny experience when you look back on it. Yeah.
No, I don't think I've ever managed to do it when I was with someone. It's kind of hard to remember because you're like in the moment, right? And then you're like, oh wait, hold on, this is like in your head, like this is the life I want to create. And then I like say the command in my head.
Wow.
And so I'm like,
you're like, hold on, let me get formal.
Hold on, like you're doing a really great job, but like let me focus on this.
You keep going. Don't interrupt.
Don't interrupt.
Really quick.
But I'm creating this. You also were like, I think it's more powerful if like you're manifesting together. But I've yet to find someone that I trusted enough to be like, okay, we're gonna do some sex magic together.
When I say so, get ready and look right at me.
Think about your dream life and bring it in.
Please, when that happens, let me know. Amazing. Okay. Wow. I feel like we've really gone all over where what we wanted to talk about. I kind of have just like one or two more questions. I'm curious, have you tried any other healing modalities since, because we were saying in the beginning, you know, you hadn't really like had an experience yet. Now that you are a healer and you heal and help other people, have you tried other modalities?
Yeah, I've done ayahuasca a few times, and that's super powerful. I feel like Aya is just like, you know, each theta session is super powerful, but it's like 5 to 10 sessions all rolled into one.
Yeah.
And the most powerful thing for me with that is that everything is really clear. I know exactly who I am, what I'm meant to do. Like, as an actor, you get a lot of rejection. You're told no so much that it can be tough to be really firm in your knowledge and courage that like this is the right path for you. And then every time I do plant medicine, it is just so clear to me that like that's what I came down here in this life to do. And I think sometimes when you're like into healing, you get really into like the 5D, and I've really been trying to learn to like really live a full life in the 3D, like as a human, and that acting is such a like human desire. And you know, on the 5th plane, there's no I assume there's no actors, you're just like light beings up there. And so like really allowing myself to accept and kind of like a relish, is that the right word? Relish in being human. And so that's really cool, and I'm constantly working on trying to have that sense of who I am and just like ultimate clarity that I have during ayahuasca. And then of course like talking to like the universe is just like so much clearer. The team is so the message is with the team is so clear. And then it's clear in Theta, but I'm still working on in my like day-to-day life having that just like clear channel that I'm always able to talk to, as I say, the team.
It's funny because mine was like vice versa. I did ayahuasca before I did Theta Healing, and when I did Theta Healing, I was like, this feels like ayahuasca, but like if people aren't able to access ayahuasca or it's not for them, this is like so similar, and we can change so much about our brain chemistry. In Theta Healing, the same as ayahuasca. My last question for you is, what is something that you would want to share with people who are beginning their healing journey or really starting to be committed on it that would help encourage them?
That's a good question. I think just to keep going. I think it can be kind of scary to start uncovering the, you know, what's in the closet, if you will.
True.
The skeletons in the closet that I think we all naturally just kind of carry can be intimidating. And especially with Theta Healing, you know, so much of your life and like the beliefs that you hold are from 0 to 7, like a time in your life that you don't have control over. And so really taking a step back and not thinking of it as personally and allowing yourself to just kind of see the picture and accept that you feel a certain way or certain things have happened to you, and not judging yourself for that, but just like looking at it with like a loving eye and giving that acceptance to yourself and allowing yourself to make those changes, but also not rushing the process. Like, you know, we've been working together for years, and my life has completely changed, but we're still working on a lot of the same stuff. And at this point, I've never felt embarrassed with you, except I'm like, how are we still working on this? I thought we had figured this out.
I talked to a healer, I think it was like a year ago, and she had been doing healing for like 30, 40 years. And she had this like perspective of it that it's like a percentage. Like sometimes you heal whatever that was, like 40% or 10%. And then she kind of checked in with it. And I thought that was really cool, because she would say like, as she healed something, she'd be like, how much is that healed? And then she'd be like, oh, it's 60% healed. I still have more to do. You know, and I was like, oh, okay, that's good for like, if you're still working on something, to be like, I know it's different and I know it's changed, but I'm still working on it. So like, give you that kind of range to look at.
Yeah, I love that, because I know I'm a completely different person than who I was a few years ago. And I remember my college roommate would always laugh at me because she would say I'm terrible at emotions, and she was correct. But my moon is in Pisces, so I have a deep well of emotions that I was ignoring for the first 25 years of my life, and I only would like acknowledge them through acting. I would just like funnel all emotions through acting, and in that way I do think acting saved my life. But I now can, you know, live the full breadth of the human experience.
Yes.
And I think I'm actually a decently emotional person now, but it's funny to me that people at different times in my life could see me as just such a different person.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, before we end, we always end the podcast by asking the void a question. I have a question for the void, but I also give you the opportunity. Would you like to ask the question? And it could be anything, absolutely. We just ask it, and then the void answers it. It could be anything that you want. If you don't want to, I have one.
I'm gonna let you take the lead.
Okay. It can be like so simple to like very philosophical. So today's question for the void is, what do you smell like?
Incense and peppermint.
What a lovely smell. Thank you, Void, for helping us end our day. But thank you so much, Grace, for being here. And I know you are helping so many people with your work, and you will continue to do that and make a huge impact for people. But even here, sharing your story, I know you're helping people. And we'll put your information in the description, so if anyone wants to contact you. But thank you, healer, for joining us, and I wish you joy and serendipity on your healing journey, and I hope our paths cross again.